The anime begins by showing a woman named Kaguya Shinomiya, the vice president of the student council, and a male student named Miyuki Shirogane, who is the student council president at the Shuchiin Academy. The school is a place for talented students born into wealthy and respectable families. Shinomiya is one of the students from a wealthy family, while Shirogane comes from a middle-class family. Many students were amazed at the compatibility between the two of them because they had beautiful and handsome faces. Even many students thought that they were dating. On the other hand, Shirogane thinks that Shinomiya has feelings for him, so he will wait for her to express her feelings first. Meanwhile, Shinomiya feels she is not on the level that she wants to date a commoner like Shirogane, but she will give him a chance if he prostrates and begs for her love. Actually, they both are attracted to each other but hindered by prestige. The next day, Shirogane and Shinomiya worked on assignments in the student council room. A woman named Chika Fujiwara, the student council secretary, offered Shirogane and Shinomiya 2 movie tickets. Shirogane accepted it because this weekend, he had a day off. Fujiwara explained that there was a rumor that if a man and woman went to watch the film together, they would become a couple. Hearing this, Shirogane and Shinomiya are embarrassed. In their hearts, they both hoped, but in their mouths, they seemed to object. Finally, Fujiwara suggested that they both change the film. For a moment, they looked disappointed but didn't want to argue. The next day, Shinomiya gets a love letter from someone at her locker. She took the letter into the student council room and told Fujiwara that someone had asked her out. Meanwhile, Shirogane just listened while writing the assignment. He then thought that there would be no way Shinomiya would want to leave that easily with someone she didn't know. Unexpectedly, Shinomiya told Fujiwara that she would meet that person. Hearing this, Shirogane was so shocked that his pencil broke while he was writing. After that, Shinomiya said she appreciated that person's courage to express his feelings to her while quipping Shirogane. As a student council president, Shirogane doesn't allow Shinomiya to go out with a strange man because it violates ethics. He could have reported it to the teacher if she did, and she was punished or suspended. But Shinomiya doesn't mind because she will sacrifice for her true love. As a result, Shirogane screamed and was going to tell her his feelings for her as long as she didn't go. Hearing that, Shinomiya blushed but kept her prestige. Even the prestige Shirogane said that his words were just a parable. Feeling annoyed with his words, Shinomiya left the student council room. Instantly, her step stopped when someone grabbed her shoulder. She suspected that Shirogane was preventing her, but it turned out to be Fujiwara because she didn't want to be left by her. The next day, Shirogane brought lunch made by his grandfather from the village. Shinomiya, who had only seen such a meal for the first time, was surprised because her lunch was made by the chef. Suddenly Fujiwara came and asked for Shirogane's lunch, and he gave her. Seeing Fujiwara being fed by Shirogane, Shinomiya showed her an annoyed expression. Even though she also wanted to be like that. Shirogane thought Shinomiya's expression condescending to his lunch, so he took out a soup and invited Fujiwara to try it. As a result, Shinomiya was even more annoyed to see all that. The next day, Shinomiya brought a sumptuous lunch. She had hoped that Shirogane would exchange it, but it didn't. Shirogane brought food supplies as usual. At that time, he was offered to try Shinomiya's lunch when he wanted to eat his lunch. However, again Shirogane thought it was tantamount to demeaning his food, and he refused. The refusal irritated Shinomiya. When Shinomiya asked what lunch Fujiwara had brought, it turned out that she was eating Shirogane's lunch, and Shinomiya was even more annoyed. Seeing the annoyed Shinomiya, Fujiwara gave her a sausage, putting Shinomiya back in a good mood. Long story short, Shirogane has a new cell phone that already contains a chat application in it, and Fujiwara immediately asks for his username on the application. Shirogane hoped that Shinomiya would also ask for his username. However, she persisted until he asked for her username first. After that, Shirogane said he changed his childhood photo to a profile picture. Hearing that, Shinomiya became curious, and she thought about how to see the photo without asking for his username. Afterward, she pretended to cry, and unexpectedly, the plan was successful. Shirogane accidentally showed his cell phone to Shinomiya, and she managed to record it. On the other hand, Fujiwara had already planned her summer vacation. Likewise, Shirogane wants to go on vacation later to the mountain because, at night, he can see the stars while thinking about being alone with Shinomiya. But in reality, Shinomiya doesn't want to be taken to the mountains because she prefers to go to the sea. Meanwhile, Shirogane doesn't like the sea because he can't swim. However, when he remembers there are lots of insects on the mountain, he finally chooses to go to the sea instead. Likewise, Shinomiya thought that if she wore a bikini at sea, she would be compared, so she chose to go to the mountains instead. As a result, the confused Fujiwara decided the discussion next time. A few moments later, Shirogane was visited by a male friend who wanted to confide in him about love. He is considered a loved veteran even though he has never been in a relationship. But because he didn't want to be ridiculed and humiliated, he didn't even say anything about it. After that, the man said he liked a woman but did not know how to express it. Shirogane then walked to the door and demonstrated how to express love to a woman. Unbeknownst to him, Shinomiya was standing behind the door and smiling as he confessed his love to her. In class, the teachers managed to secure the adult magazines brought by the students, but Shinomiya used to respond to that, because she thought the students were teenagers and should know about it, and she was sure that not a few students understood it. After a while, Shinomiya and Shirogane were seen still at school because they had work to do, while Fujiwara and Ishigami had already left. Shirogane felt that Shinomiya had started to open up now. He thought it was because they had been together in this school organization for a long time. During this time, Shinomiya always rides with the driver wherever she goes, including going to school. She never felt like going to school on foot or walking with her friends. One day, there was a cat in the hood of her car, and Shinomiya decided to go for a walk. She was pleased to finally go to school on foot. She hoped that she would meet Shirogane on the road and be able to go together. On the way, Shinomiya saw a child crying on the side of the road. Because she felt sorry for the child, she then approached her. After being asked, it turned out that the child was crying because she was afraid to cross the road, and finally, she was accompanied by Shinomiya to cross. When Shinomiya looked at her watch, it was time to enter class. Just as she thought she would be late for school, suddenly Shirogane came, who was also in a hurry, asked her to go with him. It was a moment that she will never forget. Arriving at school, they try cosplay because there will be a visit from students from France. Shirogane was intrigued when Shinomiya wore a cat headband, but he showed a straight face to hide his admiration. Shinomiya then felt that she didn't fit into the costume and put a similar cat headband on Shirogane's head. He also felt he did not fit, especially since he was a man. However, Shinomiya found it very cute. She was holding back laughter until she bit her lip and bled. At home, Shinomiya felt it was a waste to exchange email addresses with Shirogane. Even though she was always waiting, he never sent a message. She didn't want to have to send a message first. After that, her assistant feared Fujiwara would go first if Shinomiya didn't want to send a message. And coincidentally, Fujiwara called, but Shinomiya refused to answer while throwing the cell phone at the assistant. Afterward, her assistant called Shirogane using the cell phone and connected. Shinomiya panicked when the one who answered the phone was Shirogane's father. Shirogane, who was taking a shower, immediately took over the conversation. Shinomiya wanted to make sure to meet tomorrow, and they finally agreed to meet at 11 at Hachiko. When he wanted to end the conversation, Shirogane seemed to want to say something, but the phone had already been turned off by Shinomiya. The next day it rained. Shinomiya thought Shirogane got rained on, so she still wanted to see him. And sure enough, Shirogane had arrived earlier and had just received news that Shinomiya had not come. Long story short, a student visit from a French school was held. Shirogane told Shinomiya he could speak a little French, which he learned from the handbook. But when a student from a French school came to say hello, Shinomiya was the one who could answer the greeting. Likewise, Fujiwara looks quite fluent in French, thanks to her parents. Shirogane then felt that he was the only one who could not speak French. On the other hand, a teacher wants to bring down Shirogane's self-esteem by attacking his mentality through a student from a French school who is good at swearing named Betsy Beltoise. She immediately took out her swearing stance to Shirogane. However, Shirogane, who did not understand the meaning of Betsy's words, could only smile. Knowing that Shirogane was being insulted, Shinomiya approached Betsy and insulted her back to knock her mentally. Betsy then admits that the strength of Japanese students is terrible. After the event, Shirogane found Shinomiya looking down, embarrassed by her words, when facing Betsy. Even Shirogane, who was not fluent in French, knew he was being insulted. He also thanked Shinomiya for helping him when he was insulted. Shirogane's words then made her happy. While returning to school activities, Shinomiya and Fujiwara were very happy with their new uniforms. While in the student council room, a female student met Shinomiya. She wants to ask for a solution to her love problem. Since the student council helps in any way, Shinomiya wants to hear about the student's problems even though she has never been in love. After telling a long story, the student's problem turned out to be wanting to break up with her boyfriend. Because when he confesses his love, she accepts it in shock. Not long after, Fujiwara arrived, who had heard of the problem. She wanted to help by asking her to imagine what if the man was close to another woman. And if there is jealousy, it means there is love in her heart. After that, Fujiwara suggested she participate in social activities. Shirogane also participates in these activities, making Shinomiya fall in love with him even more. One day, Shirogane looked troubled while practicing volleyball. He is practicing because there will be volleyball lessons soon. Although he likes sports, he lacks balance. After that, Fujiwara came and wanted to teach him. At first, Shirogane did not believe in Fujiwara's ability to play volleyball. But after seeing her serve, he was surprised and agreed to be taught by her. And when volleyball lessons were held, Shirogane seemed to be proficient. Long story short, school hours ended, and it was raining outside. Shinomiya, waiting for the rain to stop, was with Shirogane. That day, she was not picked up because her car had a flat tire. On the sidelines waiting for the rain to stop, both hoped one of them took out an umbrella. In fact, they both brought umbrellas, but apparently neither of them wanted to do it first. Shortly after, Fujiwara came and broke the tension between them again. Finally, they went home together using an umbrella lent by Fujiwara. The next day, the student council treasurer, Ishigami, is seen approaching Shirogane and saying he wants to resign. He was chosen as the student council administrator because he was quite proficient in the computer world. He is rarely seen because he often does his job from home. He wanted to resign because he wanted to be killed by Shinomiya. Hearing that reason, Shirogane felt strange. After that, Ishigami explained, starting about a month ago, he found a coffee coupon which happened to be Shinomiya and Shirogane talking about. At that time, Shirogane had never been to the cafe because he thought drinking coffee there was costly. Therefore, Shinomiya wants to take him to a cafe by giving him a free coffee coupon. However, the coupon suddenly disappeared. It turns out that the coupon was taken by Ishigami. Shinomiya then threatens Ishigami not to tell Shirogane about the coupon. A week ago, when Ishigami asked Shinomiya how she felt about Shirogane, she refused to admit it. That way, Ishigami would tell Shirogane that Shinomiya had no interest in him. At that instant, she forbade him to say that to Shirogane, then strangled him. Since then, Ishigami has considered Shinomiya as dangerous as a murderer. Not long after came Shinomiya, who was wearing a scary costume that made Ishigami and Shirogane even more scared. After that, followed by Fujiwara with an equally scary costume. Shirogane told Ishigami that Shinomiya couldn't do such a heinous act, and he had to believe everything would be fine. However, Ishigami is frightened again when Shinomiya threatens not to reveal her secret. Sometime later, Fujiwara was seen studying a psychology book, and she asked Shirogane about the capacity of a cat cage. He innocently answered that one cage could fit up to 9 cats. But apparently, according to the book she studied, it was related to the number of children he wanted in the future. The next question, when in a flower garden, how many flowers do they want to take if allowed? Fujiwara would choose only the pretty ones, while Shinomiya would take just enough. Unlike the two, Shirogane also wanted to take as much as possible. Intrigued by the question's meaning, Shinomiya then looked for it and was surprised that it turned out to be how much love would be given to their loved ones. After that, Hayasaka, Shinomiya's assistant, who is also still in school, suddenly comes to the student council room and invites Shinomiya to go home. Shinomiya noticed that Hayasaka's appearance was getting bolder and almost broke the school rules. Hayasaka said appearance for women was very important, especially from a high-class family like Shinomiya. She invited Shinomiya to come home immediately and paint her nails like the current trend. The next day, Shinomiya's nails were already colored, and she hoped that Shirogane would reprimand her. But she was still embarrassed to show her nails even though Fujiwara was very curious. After that, Shinomiya tried to get closer to Shirogane so that he would notice the changes in her nails. But he still didn't show any reaction. Even though in his heart Shirogane actually realized, but he didn't want to say anything. While walking home, Shinomiya gave up, but soon Shirogane approached and said he wanted to praise her nails. But because he was embarrassed, he immediately left her. Long story short, Shirogane was again visited by the man who previously had asked him for a love solution. At that time, Shirogane's heart was pounding, afraid that the man would ask strange things. However, it turned out that he just wanted to say that it had been a month of dating, but he had not even held his girlfriend's hand. He felt insecure because his hands sweat easily. Not long after, Fujiwara came and tried to provide a solution, namely to keep trying. Since then, the man has been able to hold his girlfriend's hands. A few moments later, a woman named Kei Shirogane wanted to go to the student council room. At first, Shinomiya didn't know who she was, but after knowing the woman's name, she was happy. Turns out she is Shirogane's sister, student council treasurer at junior high school. She wanted to see her brother because she was having trouble with the documents she had made. At that time, Shinomiya intends to be close to Kei, as well as the first step closer to Shirogane's family. Soon, the final exam will be held. Shirogane continued to study to maintain the first rank after 3 consecutive wins. Likewise, Shinomiya wants to defeat him. After that, Ishigami, who was about to go home, was also told to study by Shinomiya. He also said that, but seems to have other intentions, namely buying game cassettes. Meanwhile, Fujiwara has problems in Japanese lessons but still gets an average grade. Long story short, the exam begins. Fujiwara looked nervous because she was afraid that her grades would drop. Unlike Shirogane, who looks relaxed despite his nervousness, he tries to stay calm to maintain his ranking. After the exam is over, as usual, the scores are announced. Shirogane was still in the first ranked, and Shinomiya still couldn't take it away from him. Shinomiya, who looks tough, actually wants to cry in her heart. Likewise, Shirogane looks normal. But when he said goodbye to go to the toilet, only then did he celebrate. That day, it rained heavily with lightning and strong winds. Shirogane got the news that the train he was riding had temporarily stopped operating due to extreme winds. Shinomiya plans to take him home with her, but she just realized it's like asking him out, and it will be a drive date. So she thought that it was Shirogane who asked her for a ride. Not long after, Fujiwara's taxi arrived. Fujiwara, who felt sorry for Shirogane's inability to go home, wanted to take him by taxi. But she was stopped by Shinomiya and told to go home first. Shinomiya, knowing that Shirogane had worked that day, hoped he would ask her for a ride. When Shirogane went to the toilet, Shinomiya found his cell phone, and there was news that the train was back in operation. Instantly she disassembled Shirogane's cell phone and then replaced the battery so it wouldn't turn on, and the attempt was successful. When Shirogane wanted to borrow Shinomiya's cell phone, she seemed in a hurry because her invitation had arrived. At that point, Shinomiya still didn't see any sign that Shirogane would ask her for a ride. But not long after, he flashed with his bicycle so fast that the water splashed on her. After that incident, Shinomiya immediately caught a fever and looked spoiled. Meanwhile, Shirogane just turned on the cell phone after changing the battery and read a message telling him that Shinomiya had a fever. At that time, Fujiwara wanted to visit Shinomiya, who happened to be at her house. She also invited Shirogane and Ishigami to go visit together. But Ishigami had refused with impolite reasons. Finally, Fujiwara invites them to play a game to determine who will be the representative to visit Shinomiya. Shortly afterward, their game was over, and Shirogane won thanks to his determination and wanted to apologize to Shinomiya, while Fujiwara was eliminated because he was embarrassed to be caught cheating. Shirogane, who will go to Shinomiya's house, looks confused about what to bring there. In the afternoon, Shirogane rushed to Shinomiya's house. When he got there, it was like he was dreaming of being able to set foot in such a big house, and there was already Hayasaka who greeted him at the door. At first, Shirogane only wanted to hand over something, but Hayasaka led him to Shinomiya's room. Arriving at the room, Shirogane looked stunned by the messy things around him. Seeing this, Hayasaka immediately rushed to put Shinomiya to sleep. She also explained that actually, Shinomiya was still sleeping. After that, Shirogane was asked to accompany Shinomiya for the next 6 hours because Hayasaka wanted to continue her work. He also pleasantly asked Shinomiya about the situation and so on. Not long after that, suddenly, she pulled Shirogane onto the bed and asked him to sleep together, making him unable to do anything. Soon, Shirogane was fast asleep. After that, Shinomiya wakes up and is shocked to see someone sleeping beside her. Instantly, Shirogane ran towards the exit. Shinomiya, who was afraid that something would happen, was approached by Hayasaka, and it turns out that nothing happened to Shinomiya. After that incident, the next day, they fussed over the cake. Initially, the principal sent 2 pieces of cake to the student council for Shirogane and Shinomiya. But it turns out that there is only 1 piece left. So, the 2 of them threw each other so one would eat it. After arguing for a long time, Ishigami felt guilty and asked Fujiwara for help to stop their argument. It turned out that he was the one who ate 1 piece of the cake. Afterward, Shinomiya asked a friend named Kashiwagi for advice about what happened when she had a fever yesterday. She immediately said bluntly that she slept with Shirogane when she was sick. Kashiwagi denied that Shirogane should have refused and did not justify it even though Shinomiya invited him. But Shinomiya remembers when she passed Shirogane, and he said that he didn't do anything except touch her lips with his fingers. Long story short, summer vacation is coming soon. Shirogane asked for time off at his workplace and intended to be refreshed. He also asked the others where are the plans for the holidays later. However, Fujiwara wanted to go to Hawaii on her own, and he failed to persuade her to take Shinomiya on vacation together without going through Shinomiya directly. Shirogane was still looking for a way to get Fujiwara to go with him. After that, Shirogane tries to meet Ishigami and asks him for advice. Ishigami reminded him to look for something to remember because he would graduate first. Shirogane thought refreshing doesn't always have to be with girls and decided to go to the summer festival. Suddenly Fujiwara wants to join the festival later, and because of the fireworks, Shinomiya wants to go there. Moments later, Fujiwara suddenly changed her mind and wanted to go to Spain because of a tomato festival. Meanwhile, Shinomiya still wants to go to the summer festival with Shirogane. However, Fujiwara didn't want to be left behind even when she went to Spain. Ishigami, annoyed with Fujiwara's childish nature, mocked her a little until she burst into tears. Long story short, summer vacation has started, but Shirogane is still at home and not going anywhere, unlike Fujiwara, who is currently having fun overseas. Meanwhile, Shinomiya is still at home and doesn't even know what her friends are doing. Hayasaka advised Shinomiya to leave the house because she had just seen Shirogane's activities on social media. It turns out that all this time, Shinomiya doesn't know social media at all. After that, Hayasaka goes bathing. When Hayasaka was relaxing, suddenly Shinomiya called, and she said that the internet was broken. Turns out she was creating social media accounts. Knowing this, Hayasaka gave several social media names belonging to her friends. On the other hand, Fujiwara is seen traveling around the world while Hayasaka continues to bathe. Not long after returning to the bath, Shinomiya called Hayasaka again. This time she complained about her social media accounts getting banned. After being seen, it turns out that Shirogane's account is private. Hayasaka explained that Shinomiya had to follow his account first if she wanted to see Shirogane's activities. But on second thought, it was like she begging Shirogane. After that, Hayasaka continued to bathe while thinking if Shirogane and Shinomiya didn't care about their prestige, they must be happy now. On the other hand, Fujiwara had just arrived in Japan. She was happy to be in Japan again, but her sister was happy to be in Egypt. In the evening, a man named Saburo Otojima visited a ramen shop. He is a true ramen connoisseur and ordered the special ramen. Not long after, Fujiwara came to the ramen shop because she had missed Japanese ramen. But Saburo said she was not a real ramen connoisseur, and he thought of teaching her to become a real ramen connoisseur. Saburo showed Fujiwara the right way to eat ramen, but she did the same as him. Saburo thought that if Fujiwara was a true ramen connoisseur, she would add garlic. It turned out that she did that, even she drank the gravy completely. In the end, Saburo gave her a thumbs up. For 3 weeks, Shirogane did nothing but study, work, eat, bathe, sleep, and so on. He also thought about what Shinomiya was doing now, and it turned out that she was thinking the same thing. Hayasaka also told Shinomiya to send a message to Shirogane because she always saw Shinomiya reading old messages from him. On the other hand, Shirogane was riding a bicycle to the market while going to the school. Even though the school is not in line with the market, he may hope to meet Shinomiya in the student council room. It turned out that Shirogane really went to school and went straight to the student council room, but Shinomiya had already gone home. Actually, Shinomiya felt very restrained by her father. Even though she is an adult, her father manages her entire life and limits her social interactions. Even her father is so fierce that she feels he doesn't pay attention to her. But Shinomiya didn't mind it. Most importantly, she was going on vacation to see the fireworks. Long story short, the fireworks festival arrived. Shinomiya looks like she's already wearing her kimono and excited to be out with her friends for the first time. Meanwhile, Shirogane was seen straightening his hair in front of the mirror and wearing a neat shirt. When Shinomiya was about to leave the house, her father wouldn't let her go out, let alone come into the crowd. Shinomiya then told Shirogane and apologized that she couldn't come to the fireworks festival. After reading the message, Shirogane felt very sad because the day he had been waiting for was broken just like that. Finally, Hayasaka planned for Shinomiya to sneak through the window, and her plan will be assisted by Shirogane. When Shinomiya had managed to get out the window, they had already prepared a taxi for her to leave. Meanwhile, Hayasaka stays in Shinomiya's room pretending to sleep as Shinomiya, with the lights off. Shinomiya told Shirogane that she had managed to get out and took a taxi. Shirogane immediately told the other friends to split up to wait for Shinomiya. On the other hand, Shinomiya was in the middle of a traffic jam because the streets were bustling that night due to the fireworks festival celebration. Therefore, she decided to get out of the taxi and continue on foot. Meanwhile, Shirogane, also stuck in traffic, tried to pass in the opposite direction to quickly arrive at the designated place. On the other hand, Shinomiya was also running through the crowd of people, even through the dark alley. Unfortunately, when Shinomiya arrived at that place, the fireworks were over and she was crying. Not long after, Shirogane came and took Shinomiya to see the fireworks by taking the taxi earlier. He asked the driver to go to Chiba through the underwater expressway because there was still time to see the fireworks. The driver immediately stepped on the gas, and they could see the fireworks inside the taxi. However, Shinomiya instead focused on looking at Shirogane. The first day of the first semester begins. Shirogane and Shinomiya went back to school as usual. Shirogane didn't look well as he thought about yesterday's festival event. It turned out that the two of them had done something embarrassing in Shirogane's room, so he felt embarrassed to meet Shinomiya. When Shinomiya came, Shirogane pretended to ask about last night's festival, but she turned her head away and he thought badly. In fact, Shinomiya felt very embarrassed to look at Shirogane. The two of them actually wanted to try to talk but always turned around because they both seemed still nervous. Seeing the behavior of Shirogane and Shinomiya, Fujiwara felt strange. She thought the two were playing games, so she joined in and did something strange together. Not long after, Ishigami came. But Ishigami, who knows nothing, is attacked and scolded by Shinomiya and Fujiwara. Apparently, Shinomiya also told Fujiwara to leave the student council room. After the two of them were alone in the student council room, Shirogane started to believe that his actions were really cool. After that, the two went back to cleaning the student council room but accidentally collided so that Shinomiya's broom handle hit Shirogane's chest. She apologized and said it was sick. But Shirogane misunderstood, so he felt embarrassed and left the student council room, making Shinomiya chase after him. The moral that can be learned from this anime is not to be proud to say love, because without prestige, maybe now we are happy with our crush. The two went back to cleaning the student council room but accidentally collided so that Shinomiya's broom handle hit Shirogane's chest. She apologized and said it was sick. But Shirogane misunderstood, so he felt embarrassed and left the student council room, making Shinomiya chase after him. The moral that can be learned from this anime is not to be proud to say love, because without prestige, maybe now we are happy with our crush.